All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Lauren Wild. I am a professional astrologer and purpose coach, and I am here to talk to you guys about the eclipse energy that is taking place in spring of 2025. So this, webinar is really meant to create a lot of insight, awareness, and also preparation. It's also here to show you guys like a little taste tester of what my Awaken program is, how it operates, and bring you guys into it to see if it's something that is interesting for you guys, but it also helps me teach a little bit of two birds in one stone. You know what I mean? So let's go ahead and get into our content. Now, I want you guys to know that I did a 2025 webinar where I went over all of the major aspects in 2025 in like December. I think it was like the last day or two of December. And that class is about to go up on my storefront. It's going to be super affordable, but in the people that are in Awaken, they have access to it. If you're in my programs, you get access to all of this stuff for free. So but my point is that there's a lot more that's happening in 2025 than just spring. It just happens to be, though, that March of 2025 is the most insane of all the months, like in a combination of really intense energies. So that's the biggest thing about March is that, there's just like so many things that are happening. It's truly hard to keep up. So if you guys could do me a favor, though, and drop your name and what you're hoping to learn today, that would be awesome. I am a response-oriented manifesting generator. Having things to respond to really helps. And we'll go ahead and start moving through this content, and I'll take questions as they come. So as you guys know, my name is Lauren Wild. My pronouns are she, her. I am a Libra sun, Aries moon, Sagittarius rising, and I associate a lot with Uranus, the planet of awakening and disruption, exactly conjunct my ascendant, which makes me a very disruptive person, very unconventional person, which I struggled with a lot most of my life until I understood the power of it for me. And to be unique in a lot of ways was kind of the thing that set me free, allowing myself to own my weird and the activating kind of energy that I have allowed me to move past the idea that I just destroyed things. Like most of my life, I realized I would go places and things would change, and I didn't fully understand that until I understood my natal birth chart. And I didn't fully understand that from a deeper, more human perspective until I started studying ancestral shamanism. And when you combine those two, with consciousness and somatic practices, you get some pretty powerful, self-mastery stuff. And that's essentially what my programs are about. Awaken is where I decided to merge all of it into what I call the Awaken method. So that's all I'll talk about that for right now. I will talk about it more because we're going to practice it as we get into, as you can see down here, number 7, like, okay, I have a life mantra, and that is, all right, if you're going to tell me a bunch of shitty news, then I need you to tell me how we're going to fix it, because I got enough burden of awareness as it is. I don't need a bunch more awareness if I don't know what to do about it. So that's very much where the life coach piece comes in. And that's a lot of what these eclipses are actually about this year with South Node and Virgo, is about efficiency, proficiency, being able to take action towards your goal, to recognize what's dying, to prune it. Virgo is the gardener of the zodiac. So we're going to get into that stuff as we get further through. You're going to notice there's quite a lot of slides. That's because they are from the 2025 astrology webinar I did, but we're not going to go into all the detail about everything. You'll see them after class. And that way you have the data and you have the degrees and everything, but we're not going to go in depth in everything, just the things that I think that are going to be important for Q2. Okay, so let's go ahead and just name it. So the introductions, that's me. Our astrology themes, we're going to touch for just a second, but mainly what we're talking about is going to be the eclipses for spring. There are eclipses in the fall as well, starting in September. The spring retrogrades. So we have Venus station retrograde yesterday. Mercury is going to station retrograde on the 15th. And then we have Neptune ingress 0 degrees of Aries for the first time in 165 years at the end of this month. And so you add in all of those things, and we've got a lot to talk about in an hour. So let's go ahead and get into it. Our practice is going to be around self-concept work, and the focus is going to be, what the hell do I do with all this information? So all right. Here's a couple of shared agreements from our time together. Your cameras stay off and audio muted for quality and recording purposes, and all questions go into group discussion. So do me a favor, you have questions, thoughts, feelings, things that need to be witnessed, drop it in the chat box. That's what allows this thing to kind of expand. And then body sovereignty. If you need to go to the bathroom, just go to the bathroom. You don't need to sit here the whole time, but make sure that you take care of your body. I skipped over to number 3. I'm sorry. This session will be repurposed. So it's, again, part of why your faces are not on here. So, just keep that in mind. I will be reusing this. And then reciprocity of Google testimonials. If this was helpful for you, if I have been helpful for you and I provided insight for you guys, I have a goal to have 50 Google testimonials by the end of spring, by the end of Q2. And so I'm really trying to beef up my my Google profile, if you will, my website presence, as social media is shifting and changing, which we're going to talk about with Neptune and Aries. Neptune's going to move over the creator degree. And so I'm assuming a lot of things are going to start to merge and shift. And I want to make sure that I'm aligned with the right bodies of creative work if I need to. So I'm really trying to work on my website presence, and we'll talk about that when we get to that point. But you'll see where I drop that in there. And it really means so much to me, because I know that I'm weird. I know I'm unconventional, and people look at reviews, and that matters. So, all right, let's get into it. So this picture right here, you may want to take a quick screenshot of it, because you might need to see it multiple times, because we're going to talk about it quite a lot. But in the Awaken program, we have 2 different kinds of classes as of right now. There's technically 3, but they're a bit seasonal. And so we always have our Monday classes, which are very much about coaching and, trying to make sense of what's going on, and how we, are going to take actions and keep ourselves accountable and blah, blah, blah. Like group coaching. Then we also have another class called Soul and Synastry, which is my signature 101 astrology course to learn your chart and to really deepen into your own chart. So this is stuff that we look at right here. So if I ask you to do something and you're like, I don't know how to do that, that's okay. It's a skill. That's why you have teachers, astrologers, etc. But this is what you need to look at, because if I say something like, where is Aries in your chart? And you're like, okay, well, Aries is in my 11th house. Then where so much of the energy of spring is going to affect you is going to be right here in the 11th house of your groups, your friends, your social awareness, your humanitarianism, technology, your hopes and wishes in the future. So just take a quick picture of that on your phone if you want. And then we're going to go ahead and start getting moving. All right. So looking back, the thing about astrology that I tell people all the time is that astrology is predominantly the study of history. Truly, it's about 75% history and about 25% projection based on the current trends. And it is largely about pattern recognition. So it works really well for neurodivergent people, because we tend to notice patterns in things. I know that it's my special interest, and it's what made me good at astrology, was my neurodiversity and being able to track historical patterns. And so astrology is truly the study of understanding the cycles of things, and whether or not, humanity or a period of time is going to evolve and create a new cycle, or it's going to repeat the cycle. And we talk about that a lot this time of the year, because right now, the world is really looking at whether or not we're going to evolve or we're going to regress back into things like war. And, Neptune and Saturn all moving into Aries. Aries is the sign of war. And so, we're definitely trying to keep this particular astrology session focused on the what we call the microcosm, which is the you, right? Not necessarily the macrocosm. It's really hard to not do astrology and not look at the macrocosm, which is the collective, everybody, the world, the, humanity. But to focus on ourselves and how we can contribute one way or the other, because you have to understand that in the teachings, the esoteric teachings, as above, so below, which is in the microcosm, as is in the macrocosm, and vice versa. And so one of the big teachings has always been to understand that, you make a difference. You doing your purpose makes a difference. It has a fractal shift in the collective. And the more people that are doing the things that bring them joy and purpose, the faster humanity shifts and evolves and moves towards things like empathy, over seclusion and hate. And so, there's this real thing that's happening this year with Aries, which is the individual that can easily be very, very selfish, and it can also be very, very brave. And those are a lot of the things that we're going to be talking about, especially as we're closing out this final eclipse in Aries at the end of March, which is going to be at the exact same degree, just about. I mean, it's just about the exact same degree. It's 8 degrees. But Venus retrograde is at the exact degree opposite the eclipse that we had on October 2nd of 2024 at 10 degrees of Libra. So we're really getting this big check-in point, and I don't want to jump ahead. Let me talk about it for a second, but we've got some really important checkpoints that this Venus retrograde is trying to make sure that we're making the right decisions. We're investing in the right things financially, romantically, self-interest wise. And so this is an important period of time. All right. So we got to kind of like look backwards in order to make the sense of the future. And I'm only going to touch on this for a moment, but you'll see these slides in the send out. And that is, Aries is prioritizing the me over the we. And, we get in 10 years from now, the reverse of this axis, where the North Node will be in Libra, where it will be prioritizing, partnerships over independence. But right now, the collective was moving us towards independence, boundaries, focusing on ourselves more. And, it'll shift in 10 years when we have our inverse. So right now, where this story is closing, it started on April 20th of 2023, when we had our first Aries eclipse it was a solar eclipse at 29 degrees of Aries. And this one at the end of March is going to close out that cycle. And we're meant to look back over 2 years and look at all the things that we've done and recognize whether or not did we step into independence? Did we step into self-assertion? Did we learn these lessons? Are we repeating the same lessons or not? And so the key lesson with the North Node in Aries is to develop courage, self-reliance, and the ability to take initiative without excessive reliance on other people. So moving away from indecision, people-pleasing tendencies, or avoiding confrontation to maintain harmony. And then the growth path is learning to prioritize your own needs, standing confidently in your truth, making bold decisions that align with your personal goals. Okay. That's what this eclipse at the end of March is really trying to do a checkpoint on. Did you learn the lesson? And so a lot of it is like this kind of final push of releasing codependency, seeking authenticity, needing to really let go of this external validation and approval that comes from the South Node, Libra South Node, which is the focus on partnership over everything, even if it's over, the loss of your own sense of self, which is the lower expression of the South Node in Libra. So breaking patterns of over accommodation or suppressing your desires to keep peace in relationships. And to growth path is to embrace authenticity, self-expression, and personal empowerment while still honoring the value of connection and diplomacy. Okay. So this is important information because it's not just about that eclipse, at the end of March. It's about Venus retrograde, because Venus retrograde started yesterday, March 1st of 2025, at 10 degrees of Aries. Well, guess what happened at 10 degrees of Libra, which is exactly opposite. So it's challenging it right now. is we had an eclipse at 10 degrees of Libra on October 2nd of 2024. And so what's happening right now is that, and we've got Mars stationing, it's stationed direct on the 24th of February, and it's going over the same degrees that it's stationed in October of 2024. So Mars went through, those degrees that it's at right now. It passed over 17 degrees of Cancer on October 5th of 2024. So only 3 days after. So what's happening right now, specifically at the time of this recording, which is early March of 2025, is we're really, really, really getting tested right now. And Mercury is also going over the degrees right now that he's going to be stationing retrograde on March 15th. So there is a lot of really trying to learn something. But remember, with all of these planets stationing retrograde, shit is not set in stone. It's not. It's not set in stone. There is a lot of awareness that is necessary. And that's why, I feel the need to do this recording, which is y'all need to pay attention to what are the problems that are cropping up right now. Because every single one of the planets currently right now are in its weakest placement. Mercury hates being in Pisces. Mars hates being in Cancer. Venus hates being in Aries. Everything is mad. All the planets are mad right now. Saturn hates being in Pisces. There's so many planets. Taurus hates Uranus. Taurus is the planet of stability, and Uranus has been there for 8 years. And Taurus is over it, and we get Uranus moving into Gemini this year too, which is another energy that happens this summer. That is very different. We haven't seen it in 84 years. So we've got this spring period of time of a lot of, is that what you want? Is that your value? Are you willing to do that? Are you going to stand on that? Because there's a lot of testing that is going on that you guys need to know about. Okay. So let's just take a quick moment to reflect. What are the 3 main themes that surface for you starting around September of 2024? Okay. What was the theme of the consistent challenges and obstacles that you faced, and what vision still holds for you now? So, I always share relatively transparently as a teacher, and that is all right, well, in September of 2024, I moved to officially be, a single mom, and I moved out of the town that I had lived in for almost 20 years, to be closer to their dad and make it easier on us to co-parent. And that when I did that, I was this is what I'm committing to. Where I'm going is where I'm committing to, and then I've had some health issues and some things crop up that are I don't know, I think I need to live back where I lived because I had more support there. My parents lived there, and now I'm trying to contemplate that. But that's very retrograde, right? You think something's solid, and then all of a sudden you're maybe it's not. And the big thing you want to know about these retrogrades and these eclipses is it is not time to make a sharp, impulsive decision, which is hard with all this Aries, especially Venus in Aries, which makes you angry and impulsive. And it regresses you back to childhood because Aries is the child of the zodiac. So it's there's a lot going on here. A lot of rage, which obviously we know, especially with Mars in, Cancer, hates being in Cancer. Cancer is passive aggressive. It takes everything kind of sideways. Mars is direct, it is, in the words of Kendrick Lamar, it does not sneak diss. It's going to say it to your face. So it does not like being there. Jupiter does not like being in Gemini. But after, we get into May, when, Venus is fully direct and Mercury is direct, Jupiter is going to move into Cancer, and it's going to go over the same degrees that Mars stationed retrograde in Cancer and fixed a lot of things. It's going to be a much better energy by summer. But right now is a pressure cooker. It is a big, big, big pressure cooker. Okay. So I want to give you guys a couple of minutes to just contemplate, what are some of those themes. do me a favor and drop the deets and anything that you want to be seen or witnessed into the chat box so that we have some content to work with. What were some of the themes, right? So for me, mine was moving. Mine was my work, trying to find a way to merge my work into one body of work. And then the other was relationships. I took 7 months of being single and celibate, and September was when I really felt like Spirit was telling me I needed to start opening my heart up. And then like 2 weeks later, I met the man that I'm dating now, and we're both Libras, and we basically met on the Libra eclipse. And so like a lot of different things shifted and changed during that period of time. So see if you can kind of distill it down. What kind of decisions were you being asked to make? What kind of things did you let go of? What kind of actions did you take? And feel free to drop them in there. So I'll give you guys about 1 more minute and then we will start. All right. So, overworked, undervalued, questioning ethics in my vocation, questioning where my career is going, certain family members' health were big ones. Yeah. Currently still feeling undervalued, focusing on getting new vocational identity. Okay, that's good stuff. Like that's good to work with because it allows us to recognize some themes. And I'm noticing that the 2 people that are responding are Aries. So that's interesting too, like Aries dominant. So big year, like last year was a big year. This eclipse is a big completion piece. And it's important to recognize that you were tested. Aries is testing by nature, so what are you going to fight for? And so that would be my question, is like, what out of that still holds? What's keeping your focus? So like for me, my big word, since about spring of last year was stability. And that is my word now. Like if it does not bring stability, I cannot say yes. And so, can you, take those concepts and kind of break it down into a very simple understanding of like, what is the theme, right? So is it career, like clarity in career? Is it, focusing on developing self-esteem? Is it, I know my value and I'm only going to surround myself with people that know it too. I'm not going to fight for a seat at the table. Like those kinds of like mantras, right? Like, can you break it down a little smaller for yourself would be a question that I would ask. All right, let's go ahead and move into the next thing. So looking ahead at some of these themes, one of the biggest themes that I'm calling in, I don't even want to say I'm calling in, I'm just noticing it, is self-concept work. And the other piece that has really started to unveil itself since the year really got going is positioning yourself correctly. And this year is the snake year. It's a year that is called a number 9 year. So it's the last year. It's a lot about breaking down any remaining structures. The other thing is with the South Node in Virgo, Virgo is the Marie Kondo of the zodiac. It's like, if it doesn't bring joy, get rid of it. So to have the South Node in Virgo is very much about audits. It's about getting rid of things that do not serve a purpose. Virgo does not like clutter. It needs an organized space. It does not like clutter. Okay, so it will just get rid of everything and experience extreme joy while doing so. And so that in a lot of ways is kind of what's happening, is everything's getting taken down to about brass tacks to see what is going to be the most effective and efficient and simple, because Virgo rules efficiency. It wants it to be simple and effective and get the job done. Virgo is closely tied to mechanical engineers, particularly, and that is like, does it get the job done? If it doesn't, where is, where you hear the waste you know, the fraud, the waste, all of that kind of stuff. That's very South Node in Virgo of, you know, trying to identify what is actually waste, what is necessary. Virgo also rules public health. It rules healthcare systems, and so does Pisces. So, you know, lot going on here, a lot going on here. But this self-concept work is about, you know, your vision, your ability to visioneer yourself and to, you know, become a creator of your own reality is what self-concept work is really about. Do you believe that you're worthy enough to create your own reality? Do you believe that, you know, it's possible? And that is very much Aries in Neptune. It's so, you know, the creator degree in astrology based on Pam Gregory astrology, which she's an amazing astrologer, is that, you know, the world stage is at 1 degree of the cardinal signs. So that's Aries, Libra, Cancer, and Capricorn. So why that matters is because we have quite a few things happening at 2 degrees of Aries this year, which is right there. And so, you know, we're going to have Neptune and Saturn both go over the creator degree this year. And so if you have, you know, somewhere between 0 to 2 degrees of anything, you know, of Aries, Libra, Capricorn, or Cancer, they're getting massively impacted this year. You know, I'd even go as far as 10 degrees, but there's a lot of having to look backwards to move forwards. Okay. So that is one of the big things is that self-concept creator work. The next is going to be Pluto and Aquarius, which is collective transformation. I can definitely say that we have started to see collective transformation. We are also seeing a plutocracy develop here in America. And so that is part of it. One of the shadow sides of Aquarius is authoritarianism. And that is, you know, an interesting thing. The other thing about Pluto and Aquarius is power to the people and breaking down capitalistic hierarchies. So we shall see where that goes. Okay. But these are some of the other, you know, bigger themes. Uranus, you know, moving out of Taurus into Gemini's innovation, breaking through traditional structures to get free in the mind. You know, things like free speech, etc. Being adaptable to stay on your toes and to release obsessive control and reconstruct your belief systems. That's very much that South Node in Virgo and the North Node in Pisces. Has anybody, you know, been able to feel any of these things or see any of these things quite yet? I'd love to know if you guys have been able to see any of it, or even just feel it, like notice some of these themes cropping up yet while I grab a cough drop. But all right, so here's the number one teaching that we're going to focus on today is the Pisces and Virgo nodal axis. I also have a whole class on this that is going to be coming up. It's already up in Awaken. For those of you that are actually in Awaken that are here, it's already in your you know, further study courses. But this is important because we have to understand where the North and South Node are because they impact the eclipses. And that's what we're here for today. So, oh, you're in your nodal return. That's right, you are in your nodal return. I remember that now. Yep, that makes sense to me. Yeah, so your North Node is in Pisces. And the key lesson is to learn to let go of overanalyzing and relying solely on logic, which is Virgo, to embrace faith, intuition, and the unseen. Challenges are the releasing the need for certainty, control, or rigid structure, and opening up to the mystery of life. The growth path is cultivating trust in the universe, listening to your inner guidance, and connecting to spirituality, imagination, or creative expression. And the release point is the South Node in Virgo, is to let go of perfectionism. Key lesson, to release tendencies towards hypercriticism, self-doubt, or obsessive attention to detail. So some of the challenges are recognizing when striving for perfection becomes a barrier to inner peace and fluidity, and then accepting imperfection in yourself and others is part of your growth path, which allows you to live life to unfold organically and to find beauty in the chaotic or the unknown. So those are some of the major themes. The bigger thing is balancing service with higher purpose. So being able to move from a focus on just the practical, the efficiencies, the detail-oriented aspects like Virgo, to embodying a compassionate, soul-driven sense of service, which is Pisces. Some of the challenges, though, are avoiding getting lost in the minutia or feeling overly burdened by duty, while also guarding against escapism or being too ungrounded in that Pisces energy. The growth path is to merge grounded practical skills with a broader sense of universal love, empathy, and spiritual connection. I call it compassionate consciousness. And that is, very much that Pisces energy. All right, let's talk about the eclipses. So these are the two we're talking about today. All right, Eclipse 1 and Eclipse 2. Again, I talk about these a lot in that 2025 class, but these are the two we're going to talk about today. So the one that's coming up the soonest is on March 14th, 2025, and it is a total lunar blood eclipse. This is a really, really big eclipse, guys. And the last time that we had a really big blood moon in Virgo, full moon in Virgo, was in 2020 when COVID happened and the world shut down pretty much the next day. So when we have a lunar eclipse in the house of public health and it's a blood moon, I'm not a person that likes to inspire panic or fear in any way. If you know me in any way, you know that is like my least. That's not for me. But I do have concern about this eclipse, guys. I have concern about, some other health-related crisis that we can't control because we are losing the boundaries, which is that North Node in Pisces. We're losing the boundaries of our health-related issues. But Virgo rules the health industry, and so those are some interesting different things. So Angela, which house for the lunar eclipse? So the house is completely dependent on your chart. So you would look for Virgo. Wherever 23 degrees of Virgo is going to be where the eclipse is going to impact you. So for those of you that know how to navigate your chart in a way to be able to find Virgo in your chart, feel free to drop where that's going to be in your chart. I'm going to tell you how it'll impact you, right? So that one is going to be interesting because it is a check back point to September 17th of 2024, because on September 17th of 2024, we also had a total lunar eclipse at 25 degrees of Pisces. It's only 2 degrees away from an exact opposition. So it's a checkpoint. All right. It was, you started letting go of something in September, and it's a story because it's another letting go. The lunar eclipse means it's a letting go. It's a vortex of release. It's a karmic release point. And then 2 weeks later, we get our solar eclipse, which is a calling in. It's a deposit. And so, we're really, really, really meant to start letting go of some major baggage. It's time to start purging your clothes, cleaning your house, getting rid of things that don't serve you anymore, finding a way to donate. Virgo and Pisces are all about service and helping those in need. So it is strongly, better karma, if you will, if, you recognize that you have things that, people might need and you donate it. My strong recommendation, please don't donate it to Goodwill. It is a for-profit company. They are millionaires. Find a local, like Habitat for Humanity, or, here in the Dayton area, they have this program called Clothes That Work. And it is where women can drop off nice clothes that go to women that are doing interviews, things like that. So find a way to donate things you do not need and do not serve a purpose or spark joy, if you will. because it's time to let go of anything that is too excessive. And that's just part of it. Okay. So let's see. Sixth house, that's about your work. It's about your career. It's also about your health. So it's about, figuring out some sort of diagnosis or some sort of treatment plan. You may have to like touch back on it. There may be some things that, you have to let go of in order to support your health. There's some new routines or rituals that you have to put in place to support your health. But it's largely about your work and a big check-in like that. So 23, the cusp of my first and second house. Yeah, Joy, it's actually in your second house. I remember it. So this is about, being in some sense of service to your finances. You may invest in something that is, going to create more efficiency in your life. You may also recognize that it is a part of you really start making income from being in service. It makes me think about political things for you, but like, remember, these are things that take 2 years to come into full fruition, right? They're just getting started. So I'm sorry, my throat is so dry. But yeah, so with that aspect in Virgo, like for me, it's almost exactly conjunct my midheaven, which is my career, my visibility. And that's been really interesting because the last one exactly eclipsed my IC, which was like directly impacting my sense of home. And it has been directly impacted, I will tell you, over the last 6 months. So there's definitely, these aspects of trying to implement things from 6 months ago, trying to land. Okay. Yeah, testing for POTS. I'm also getting tested for POTS too. And then Virgo in the ninth. Yeah, Angela. So, my Virgo is up in the ninth too. That eclipse for you is, affecting things where you're letting go of previous bodies of work that maybe you contributed to or you studied, and you're creating new things, right? Because that means the North Node's in your third house of writing and creating and website design and building practice, like one-on-one practice, things like that. So it's like you're in that recreation, and that's me too. We're both Sag rising, so where you're trying to pare it down, you're trying to simplify it, and that's definitely what the eclipse was for me last year in Pisces. Was like, there's too much. I can't focus. Like I do shamanism, I do channeling, I do astrology, I do magic, I do all these things. Like, I just need like one word to help me sell and market because it's too much. It's overwhelming. It's very 7 of Cups. And so that's been my big commitment, is like, how can I pare it down? How can I make it more simple? How can I make it so simple that it is easily, an offer? How do I do that with these big concepts? Like, how do I narrow it down? So that, and I'm still working on that, and that's why I'm saying these eclipses, they're not completions. They're expansions. They're just taking you to the next level, because really and truly, they're just getting going. Like, they're just getting going. The eclipses changed on January 11th. We're only like, what, 2 months in, less than 2 months into an 18-month story. So they're just getting going. So, buckle in and recognize, like, all right, if, Virgo is trying to make things more efficient and more simple, what is too complicated in this area of my life, right? So let's even go back to this visual really quick for everybody, now that we're applying. Okay. So, ninth house, this is where that lunar eclipse is for you. Sixth house over here. Second house over here. Right. So those are the things that you would apply it to. These are some of the areas and the themes of your life it's going to be impacting. But, remember, 6 months from now, those eclipses, the eclipse that we have right now is going to be a solar eclipse. So in that same area, we're going to have a new beginning in 6 months. which is, that new moon in Virgo is going to be an eclipse, and that's going to be at 15 degrees of Pisces. So there's some really cool stuff going on in that way, but just remember, there's a lot of timeline work that's happening here. So when we think about, since we've got this visual in front of us, let's talk about Aries really quick. So where's Aries for you in your chart? Tell me where, the early degrees of Aries are in your chart between 0 to 10 by dropping it in there. First house, yeah. 10 degrees. Oh my gosh. Natalie, that's insane. It's just like this is a life-changing, this is like a life-changing transit for you. Truly crazy. Crazy. Yeah. Shows a lot about you, the way you dress, the way that you, appear, the way that you see yourself, the way the world sees you, your mindset, a lot of change, like, a lot of change even to your physical body, to your appearance. A lot of times when people have a retrograde in the first house, they'll change something about their face. Do not do anything long-term, but like you may try something like lip filler, or Botox for the first time because it's Venus. You may start wearing a mask again because it's Venus. It's Aries is the head, it's the face. And so, to have that is like very much like up in the head. I know your ears have impacted you too. Your ears are also a part of Aries too. So, you may find more information on that, but yeah, so like that's such a huge deal for you, and then it's going to pull back these Venus retrograde and Mercury retrograde are going to pull back into your 12th house. They're going to drag you back into the underworld for like one more quick moment before they move ahead and you make some important decisions that are in the present world. So that's important stuff, for sure. And then Angela, Chiron, 4th house. Yeah. So your sense of home, the behaviors that you have because the way you grew up could get reversed back. Like that's, because remember our charts are really similar. So it's been like that for me too. I've had to look a lot at like my ancestry, the stories of, my mom and my mom's mom, because of my health. I've been having to really like research my family's history of health and autoimmune disease. And so I've had to look a lot at like the amount of stress that they went through, the amount, especially my great grandparents, like the amount of stress they went through in, the Great Depression and, all the kids that they had and the amount of responsibility they had, and then even some of the abuse that they experienced. So stuff like that, where it's like, oh my God, yeah, no, I can see how this shit got passed down the line. But it's like cycle breaking stuff for sure. But helping you, look at the aspects of how we got here because of the foundations of our early childhood experience, and understanding it from a better perspective. But it's also our emotional health and taking care of ourselves and recognizing the way that we, are either taking care of ourselves or not taking care of ourselves. Okay. Joy, should I look at where the September 17th eclipse was? Yeah, absolutely. Yep. That's what a real astrologer would do. They go back and they would look. So, for Pisces, for you, that was over here in your 7th house of relationships. And we were just getting started working together too, by the way. Like we were just meeting and stuff. So, but the piece about the 17th was, trying to figure out what kind of business partners, I think largely for you, were going to be the right fit. And, I actually just learned this. I didn't know this, but 7th house is also the house of like your spiritual teachers and your gurus. And I was like, oh, that's so interesting. That's such an interesting thing. And so like, it could be that part of it is that, you came in for new upgrade of spiritual teachings that would help you figure out what kind of business and partnerships you'd want to do. because the seventh house is definitely romantic love and marriage, but it's also business partners, and like how you partner with people, and if you can share the same vision, etc. So could be something for you too in that way. But yeah, so yeah, I know for you, it's a lot about like re-envisioning your spiritual message and how you take that out into, the world in your work, because your moon is in that really close trine to your sun. And so much of the stuff for you, Joy, is going to line up next year, like next summer, because that's when the North Node is going to aspect those aspects. Like right now, it's really far away because it's at 27 degrees. So it has 27 degrees to get to. So it's like right when it transitions into Aquarius. North Node Aquarius is when, it's going to line up for you, versus it being right now because it's so close to Aries. So you gotta, it downwinds, right? So all the other aspects in astrology, they move forward in like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But with the South Node and the North Node, they go counterclockwise. So they start at 29 degrees and then they go down to 28, 27, 26. So they move counterclockwise through the chart. So while everything is going this way, they're going that way. And that's what makes it feel like they're like they're compounding, because they are. They're sandwiching your aspects. And so for you, especially Joy, it lines up for you a little bit better next summer, when you really like things land, like they concretize and they land. Right now, you've got Mars on your Jupiter in the 10th house. You're meant to be curious and expanding your influence and learning and kind of putting your hand in all the cookie jars to figure out where you're going. So, but anyways, okay. All right. So, let's look at these next aspects. So just remember, the solar eclipse on March 29th is at 8 degrees of Aries. So it's in the mix of Venus retrograde. Like, luckily, Venus will have already pulled back on the 27th of March into Pisces, which is way better because she is exalted in Pisces, especially late Pisces, because those are mastery degrees. Then she is, and she'll be in a conjunction to the North Node, versus being in early Aries where she's pissed. She's not happy in Aries. That is not her favorite place to be. They call her fallen in Aries. She's not anywhere near as like touchy-feely, lovey. She is goddess of war in Aries, which I don't think is a bad thing right now in regards to some people, but in regards to other people, I'm like, if we could just like get the concept of war out of people's mouths, that would be great. So, but yeah, so that aspect right there, March 29th through 2025, that is a solar eclipse, and it is the completion of the Aries and Libra eclipse story that started on April 20th of 2023. So let's just take a quick moment. Does anybody feel like they can kind of bring a summation, or, like a theme that was really consistently hammered for them from spring of 2023 to spring of 2025? For me, it was all about self-reliance and recognizing that I truly was better on my own than I was in a really shitty partnership. It was like very much about me and my single mom journey, because my moon is 25 degrees of Aries, or 26 degrees of Aries in the 5th house of kids. So like that eclipse at 29 hit my moon, and it drew me straight back into single parenting in such a profound way. So yeah, it's been a wild ride. So if you're able to kind of like recognize, like, what was this theme about? Like, what was the name of this journey? Or if I was going to, oh my gosh, I feel like I've starting to get allergies again because things are starting to bloom, which is amazing. I have no complaints, but my allergies have been kicking up. But if you're able to kind of like think about it, like, all right, if I was going to name the last 2 years, the chapter, a chapter of a book, like what would I name that chapter? As I get ready to close it out. So yeah. Dramatically changed my sense of self following a divorce. Yep. Makes sense. It's wild stuff. You can't make it up. But see if you can bring it into more like mythology, right? Like self mythology. What would you name this chapter that, is closing on March 29th as this new one is opening, right? All right. So 2025 retrogrades. This is Mars retrograde. So at the time of this recording, March 1st, 2025, we're here. All right. So Mars was retrograde for almost 80 days. It's really hard. I am so excited for there to not be so much water in the damn sky. If I have to cry anymore or feel any more feelings, I'm so over it. I'm drowning. I need to dry out. I am water and air, and I cannot with all of it. I don't know how water signs and earth signs like don't drown all the time, but Mars is finally back at 17 degrees. However, he is stuck at 17 degrees of Cancer for about a month. So he starts going direct, like moving forward, and will hit 18 degrees around the middle of March. I think it's about March 16th is when it hits 18 degrees, and then it starts to gain speed again. It will be back and past its retro shade, which is the part where we have to practice all the things that we learned in its retrograde motion on May 2nd. And when it touches 6 degrees of Leo again, and then we are officially moving forward. Thank the goddess, with Mars in a sign that it actually likes to be in. The only thing is that we tend to see some really interesting stuff with Mars and Leo, because most of the presidents in the United States of America are Leos. Our current president is not a Leo, but he is a Leo rising, and it can really instigate drama. It can really instigate a lot of heightened ego, megalomania, if you will. So yeah, like there's a lot of positive things on the personal front, which is we're going to feel brave again. We're going to feel direction oriented again. It's very King of Wands kind of energy. Take charge, take the lead, have vision, don't get overwhelmed by your emotions, just kind of like move forward. And then, versus it being in Cancer, where it's like, I will eventually get out of the bed and do this task, but first I need to cry about it and eat something, and then doom scroll, and then cry about it some more. And then actually, I'm not going to get out of bed. I'm just going to feel my feelings about it. That's Mars and Cancer. It's just, now, I don't want to call Cancers crybaby, because Cancers are the most ruthless out of all of them, I think. You ever met a Cancer that's mad? Yeah, no, like they are the Chariot in the zodiac. But Mars retrograde is very not happy, because Mars wants to go direct, and he doesn't want to feel anything about it. He just wants to take action. And Cancer does not. That's not Cancer. Nope. We got to talk about it. We got to reflect on it. We got to be nostalgic about it. And then we got to be passive aggressive about it. And eventually we'll get mad enough that, we'll have our meltdown, and then we'll do something about it. But then we're going to cry about it for about 4 days afterwards, because we're going to feel bad about it. Cancer is the ruler of the mother. So it's like, when mom has been just fed up for so long, but she just keeps taking it and taking it and taking it. And then she implodes, and then she gets mom guilt and cries about it for like 3 days later. That's Mars and Cancer. Okay. So, I'm hoping that we will feel less feelings here soon. That is my Sagittarius right there. I'm like, oh my God, if I have to feel any more feelings, I don't know what I'm going to do. But okay, let's go. Next. So here's the big one. Venus retrograde. It's not just Venus retrograde, because we also get a Venus gate this year. And it's been like over 100 years since we've had a Venus gate point in Aries. So let's talk about Venus retrograde. I'll talk about the Venus point. That's a whole class even in itself, but I'm not a Venusian astrologer. I would love to study Venusian astrology, but it is complicated. But regardless, let's talk about this. So Venus retrograde, the pre-retrograde shadow started on January 28th of this year when Venus went over 24 degrees of Pisces. Okay. So you may want to, look back at your phone, your calendar, your notes, if you journal, to see what was kind of popping around then. I know exactly what was popping in my life. And then the retrograde begins. And I know it says March 2nd, but that's because I use my ephemeris, and my ephemeris starts at midnight instead of noon. Anyways, it started yesterday on March 1st at 10 degrees of Aries. So it will station it will station direct again on April the 13th at 24 degrees of Pisces. And then the retro shade will be done by May 16th at 10 degrees of Aries, and then it will be moving forward again. So there are quite a few aspects that are all happening between 10 to 16 of May. And that week is an important week for like things to get straightened out from this period of time, because 1 month later exactly, Jupiter moves into Cancer and things get better. Like across the board, things are going to get better. But we have a lot, as you can see, of deep reflection and really trying to get clear on like, what are we willing to fight for? That's really the question. What are my values? What am I willing to fight for? Aries is fighting. Aries is war. Aries is conflict. And Venus is about your values. So, we look at the world, and like, I'm never going to be a neutral person as an astrologer. I am anti-Trump 120%. He's the fucking Antichrist. So anybody that watches this and doesn't, I'm not your teacher. Okay. He's the Antichrist. But there is a real aspect of value alignment that's happening right here by having to look back to the past. And one of the things about it is to look at our childhood, because Aries is the child. And, I work with a lot of people one-on-one. I work with a lot of people that deconstruct from high control religion. And a lot of people are recognizing that their parents drank the Kool-Aid, and they're having to reflect back on their childhood and look at these, authoritarian, because Aries is ruled by the Emperor card, which is, a dictator. So it's like we're, having to look back at what was I raised in, and what were the values, and do I align? Are those authentic to me? And a lot of people are having to move independently away from, the mindsets that they grew up with, and really have to be brave and to use their voice and to be, independent in their thought in that way. So that's just a very interesting aspect of it. But, the hope is that with the North Node in Pisces, that empathy can really take root, compassion can take root, that we can look back on the past and have a more compassionate, look at things. But the other thing about the late degrees of Pisces is it rules conspiracy theories and mistruths and fake news. That's all ruled by 27 to 29 degrees of Pisces. And, that's where Neptune has been since 2020. So, it's a lot of deception, confusion, smoke and mirrors, not being able to clearly see things. And then it's like right back into this really intense, impulsive kind of selfishness, like looking at ourselves and independence, but then it like takes us back to the collective and what's real and what's not. And so it's just it's a mess. But what we do have, that's coming in is eventually going to be Saturn. We're going to have Saturn coming in to conjunct Neptune to clear the fog. And it's not going to be easy. But it is definitely going to help clear the fog. And that again is later this summer, around the midpoint of May. So let's talk about the Venus gate. So on February the 4th is when the Venus gate started. So it's like, you're looking at when, Venus went, or sorry, not Venus, but the moon went over those aspects. Well, it did it yesterday. Okay. And the actual star point when Venus and the sun meet, which creates that star point, is going to be on March 22nd of 2025 at 2 degrees of Aries, because Venus is going to be retrograde. The sun moves direct. They're going to cazimi each other, go like this, and that creates the Venus star point. This is an important period of time because it is very much about like a deepening of self, of deepening of the core sense of self. So wherever 2 degrees of Aries is in your chart, that's where that star point would be created. And it shines a light on an area that is meant to be developed and cultivated over an 8-year period of time. And it starts kind of like this Venusian initiation. If you guys are not familiar with Inanna, who is in, also Ishtar, she is the goddess of heaven and hell. And she was a goddess that had to initiate herself by hearing the call of going to the underworld. Even though her life was normal and good, she had to go to the underworld, and she had to leave 7 of her pieces of Queen Regalia to basically fall to bones in the underworld under her sister Ereshkigal, who was the queen of the underworld, and died. And it was literally her demons that saved her and brought her back to life and put her back together so that she could cross back up through all the 7 gates of hell, reclaim her regalia, and become the queen of both heaven and hell. So what she is an initiation. So wherever 2 degrees of that Aries aspect for you is an 8-year period of initiation where you're meant to, in a lot of ways, release things that no longer serve you and fall to bones in a way and rebuild yourself and come back, 8 years completely different and stronger and, incapable of not just ruling one area of your life, which is heaven, which is visibility, so your ego, but also the subconscious of facing your demons, to the point that your demons, you befriend your demons and you come back and you have access to your wholeness. And that's essentially what happened to me 8 years ago. And so it's a really powerful period of time. For people that have really major aspects, it can be a call into priestess or priesthood, but for the most part, it's about Aries concepts, which is self-concept and self-worth and self-esteem. So really, really, really spending the next 8 years deeply cultivating self-belief and, a love for yourself and an ability to stand up for yourself and your values. So I hope that helps in that regard. And then if anybody has anything near there, please let me know. And then Mercury retrograde. So this is the big one we're going to talk about because this is spring. So on March the 15th, Mercury is going to station retrograde at 9 degrees of Aries. Make no mistake, it is only 1 degree away from Venus retrograde. So they're going to be walking together, they're going to cross over each other because Venus is going to station direct on April 13th. But this is going over almost the exact same degrees that Venus station retrograde. So we're going to get this Venusian quality of like looking back. Was that the right financial choice? Was that the right romantic choice? Is this what I really want? Does this align with my values? Am I settling? Am I not? Am I going to fight for what I want? Am I going to fight for the love that I want, etc.? And then we've got Mercury, which is far less focused on love, and he's more focused on the details of things, which is, should I sign that contract? Should I, say this thing? Should I write this letter? Should I do this thing? But it is significantly more contractual than it is relationship oriented. So just remember that, we have Venus retrograde, Mercury retrograde, and 2 eclipses all this month. Not only that, we've got Neptune moving into Aries, which is our next big conversation piece. Okay. So the planetary shifts, the big one that we're going to talk about is right here, because this is Q2. And that is, so Neptune moves into 0 degrees of Aries on March 31st, just 2 days after a solar eclipse. No big deal. But that is going to be a big deal because we've not seen that for 165 years. And, if you guys are interested in things like evolutionary astrology, where you really, deepen into the study of astrology from a generational perspective, that would be something that you could do. You can go back and you can look at, what was going on 165 years ago, on March 31st. And you'll be able to start to see some of the different themes that were going on at that time. And then again, look, like May, in May, we've got Saturn moving into 0 degrees of Aries, and Neptune and Saturn, they don't get along super well, guys. They don't. Neptune wants to dissolve things, and Saturn wants to concretize things. Neptune wants to, surrender, and in its low expression, escape. And Saturn is like, we're going to double down and we're going to build this out. Blood, sweat, tears, baby. We're going to do this, right? So they are a little bit of like the push pull. One's trying to write something and the other's trying to erase it while they're writing it. And it's going to be interesting, really and truly until about 2028 when we see what they're able to create. But remember, like I said, this year is about positioning yourself. It is about recognizing how you're going to position yourself for 2026 and 2027, how you're going to align yourself, how you're going to set yourself up with different groups of people. But this is a very important thing because, again, look at all these 0 degrees. Like, this is a lot of movements, guys. This is a lot of planetary movements, especially with, Pluto moving less than 6 months before that, which is huge. It's ginormous. So, we're really looking at these big creator degrees. 0 degrees of Aries is a creator degree. New things are coming in. All right. And we are capable with Neptune to literally dream it and manifest it into reality. And with Saturn coming in here, not only that, but we can concretize it. We can anchor it. And so there is a world of opportunity that is happening if we're able to focus. And that is why I keep telling people, awaken, this is the year, because it's the creator degree. It is, all about visualization and imagination, and then following it through with the consistency that Saturn and Aries is going to demand. Saturn's going to be in Aries for the next 3 years. And then Neptune's going to be in Aries for the next 16 years. And then Uranus is going to move into Gemini and be there for 8 years. And Jupiter's going to move into Cancer and be there for 1 year, So we've got a lot of major things that are shifting and changing. And I'm, as they sit, they're exciting degrees, honestly. It is being able to stay focused, again, remember, on the micro, which is you, not necessarily everything going on in the macro, because that can be very distracting, truly. So, all right. Personal divination piece. So this is, some of the aspects that I would like for you guys to work with. So we'll take about 5 minutes, maybe 10. You guys let me know if you feel like you need 5 or 10. And then I will pause this recording just to keep it, brief. And then, we'll move into a little bit more processing. So please do me a favor and get out your deck and pull these cards in concept to the spring eclipses. And I'll see you guys. Let's just split it in the middle. We'll call it 7 minutes. So it's 5:15 Eastern Standard. So it'll be like 27. So I'll see you guys here in just a minute. All right, everybody. I hope that was helpful for you guys. Remember, you can keep working on that for as long as you want. We are starting to come to the end of this transmission for this particular class. So let me go ahead and just drop a couple of things for you. So number one is, if you guys are looking for a very intimate, like one-on-one, Lauren, what is this year about for me? Then my first thing I always tell people is book a one-on-one reading with me. I'll look at your chart. We'll look at the transits. I'll tell you what's going on. It is, a good time to invest in those things. And my books are open. So should you want to schedule a reading, it's there. The secondary thing is going to be my program Awaken. So, I've had many people that have been in school with me for years, and they're like, is Awaken anything different? It's a mix. And I'm like, it's actually really different. Like, it's really different. I'm really different. My skill level is different. The container is different. The process is different. But the biggest thing is that I got sick last year, and I'm actually in the process of figuring out if I'm sick. I have Uranus in my sixth house now. It's been in there for a couple of years, just causing all kinds of havoc with my immune system. And I was in that 6-month period of time of being really sick. I was finally able to have the integration and the connection that I needed to figure out how I was going to merge, all of these different programs, like my ancestral program, my astrology program, and coaching, and create a group environment. And I did, and I call it the Awaken Method. And so I'm really thrilled with it, to the point that I'm going to be writing a book about it this year, and hopefully starting a speaking tour by the end of the year. But that's like that's my big movement, is in that direction. And so if you guys do find that you want to be back into a group container and learn astrology, etc., then Awaken is an incredible space to, as you guys know, make friends that are unique and going through similar life transitions and liminal spaces, but also to learn and to grow and to gain the insight that you need for clarity and direction, so that you're not wasting your damn time out here raw dog in reality. Like, it's crazy out here. So there's no reason for that if you don't want to. And you can book a reading. You can consider jumping into a group circle dynamic for 6 months. Those are your options. Just wanted to share those things with you. So let's go ahead and see what people are saying. Alignment is the Tower. Wow. So yeah, big shifts, big changes, things that are collapsing out, that are not serving you, that are old, that need a change. And man, 2023 was my Tower year. That was the year that I had the eclipses on my sun and my moon. And that was a Tower year. And it made me who I am today. It changed me, and it put me on the trajectory and the path that I really needed to be on. And I needed the intense shakeup of a Tower to make that decision. So I can look back on it now and be super grateful for that Tower. But I never, ever, ever pull the Tower and don't clarify. So if it was me, I would take that Tower card and I'd set it in the middle, and I would pull cards, and I would say, what is this Tower about? Like, in what area of my life is this about? Show me 2 cards that, what this Tower is impacting. What part of my life is the Tower impacting? So that's my suggestion to you, to get a little bit more clear on exactly what, right? So when it comes to alignment, shit is shifting and changing to get clear, to make the pathway clear. The Death card for life 6 months from now. Well, one thing I would say is the Death card is Scorpio, and you have 2 placements in Scorpio, your moon, which is in a conjunction to Uranus, and Uranus in Scorpio is at its exaltation. So I would be very interested to see if it is more so about, like the aspects of your 3rd house, which is your neighborhood, your community. But the Death card does not necessarily actually represent death. Very rarely does it do that. But it is more so about the things that are no longer, aligned, coming into completion, and new life happening. Because in the world of feminine studies and the esoteric arts, there is no death. It's just a rebirth. It's a cycle. You come back and there's another cycle. And so, it means that something has to die for something new to be born. Death card, Tower card, those are 2, and the Devil card. Those are the 3 cards that I will not take 1 card. I am like, I'm going to need about 4 more cards for you to clarify this. So those are the 3 cards that I don't ever leave just 1 card out. I pull clarifiers. So that would be something I would do if I was you. Repressed beliefs is the Lust and the Strength card. Yeah, because you're working with the Crowley deck. So, you know, Thoth Tarot is very much about needing to overcome your fear and deepen into the authenticity of your heart. It's ruled by Leo. Leo rules the heart. So about being courageous and taking leadership over your life and pulling from the heart, you know, instead of from the mind. So that would be a clarifier of that. And then beliefs about myself holding me back. The Page of Pentacles and the Tower came out together. Yeah, so that's an interesting one because that's like, you're not going to find what you're looking for, like stopping at a BP to ask for directions, you know, and nobody does that anymore because we have navigation, but it's like, you're only going to find what you're looking for through drastic measures, through like drastic change. So, you know, like there's an aspect of major change coming in, a major direction change that's coming in, that's going to provide, you know, that direction you're looking for. Because the Page of Pentacles is about a message of stability, an offer of financial opportunity, and the Tower card means like something like off the books comes in as an opportunity, something you weren't expecting, something that puts you on a path that, you know, killed the other idea and aligned with something that you wouldn't have necessarily chosen because it was too unconventional. But like something comes out, you know, of these eclipses that are drastic and potentially life-changing, right? Because the Death card. So super powerful stuff. But all right, cool. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring this portion of this transmission into completion. Remember, if you are looking for support, I'm your girl, whether it's astrology or you want to learn and get into a program. Those are all available, and you'll see that, as well as you'll get the recording for this, as well as the slides in the email that's going to go out. I can't remember if it goes out later tonight or early tomorrow morning. But just remember, like, you have access. If you want to jump in. If this is where we leave, my only ask is that you consider leaving me a Google review if I was helpful, if you felt like this was, you know, something that you would recommend to friends that you do. And that's really the biggest thing. So thank you guys so much for coming to this transmission. And I'm going to go ahead and complete the recording.